So we were talking about Kobe. Whenever you get a chance, if you can queue up the standings, we can take a look at these. So, doing this prep for the show, I was able to look at press conference from Virginia Union. We'll pull that up in just a second. But so right now we've got Johnson C. Smith 4-0. They are 1-0 in conference. Now the team that they beat was Virginia Union last week. If you will turn your eyes downward to Virginia Union, what is Virginia Union's conference record? It's 0-0. 0-0.
Yeah.
And even my Siri is confused. And if you look at Winston-Salem State, they got the W as well over Virginia State. If you look at that, what is it? What is it for Virginia State? They are 0-0. How does this happen? Because I was confusion, and I think you and I just worked it out, and we'll have to get this confirmed. But so typically the CIAA has gone to an 8-game schedule of conference games. Previously, you played 3 crossover games and you play 5 division games. Well, this year they went away from divisions. We don't have St. Aug, and so because of that, the teams in the South, and because it happened so late, the teams in the South, they lost one of their games, so they had to pick up another game. And some schools didn't even pick up another game.
Yep.
Some schools being Livingstone and Fayetteville State didn't pick up another game. So what the CIAA has had to do is go to a 7-game conference schedule. So that is how you get Winston-Salem State beating Virginia State, yet Virginia State does not have a conference loss. That is how you get Virginia Union losing to Johnson C. Smith, yet Virginia Union does not have a conference loss. Those were to be CIAA games, but now they are only CIAA games for those teams. And we're still trying to figure out how it works because Bowie State, that was their first game against a CIAA opponent, their win against Livingstone, and they have a win. But Livingstone doesn't. Yeah. So we got to make some calls over to the CIAA. Chris, of course, they never make anything easy for us there, do they?
No, they don't. But I think what happened too is that, so if you think about the schedule and the way that it's laid out, you had you still have the old South-North split. So the back half of the schedule is what was the old divisional schedule. And with St. Aug going out, I imagine that St. Aug would have been on Bowie's schedule as a crossover game. So that left Bowie down. So basically you have 8 teams that you got several teams, I should say, including the South, or the old South, that they don't have that 8th game anymore. So they get to count that first game as a conference game. But then the other ones that wouldn't have had St. Aug on their schedule, for example, they don't. They don't have to. They already played a conference opponent and it didn't count. And that's what you have right now. So I suspect that's what's happening from just looking at the tea leaves.
Deductive reasoning, man. Woo.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. And who knows what it'll look like by the time we get to November. But we will work to find it out. So it's going to be interesting. We thought we knew. We had no idea. Just like that old TV show. Virginia State and Virginia Union actually don't have a CIAA loss at this point, which makes things even more interesting than what it was already going to be. So we do have, we'll talk about it, but again, the CIAA, the teams in the Southern, everyone will have equal game. Yeah, but man, yeah, John, but you get an L, one L counts and one L, and what L doesn't, because now Virginia State and Virginia Union are still lossless. They're still 0-0 in CIAA play. And again, everybody is going to be going based off record. They might not lose another game. It's just gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for sure. So maybe all is not lost for the state of Virginia. They might not even be in a hole.
You can't use a tiebreaker though. Like if you have to deal with a tiebreaker, then that may be an issue because you technically can't count it. I would imagine. So that may be an issue, but outside of that, I mean, you had to look at common opponents probably in a tiebreaker scenario.
Because who wants to do it the easy way? This is the CIAA. Who wants to do it the easy way?
What if this turns into like the MEAC, where they have like 5 teams and like tied at the end?
Well,
chaos.
I mean, hey, CIAA is the father of the MEAC, so it would only be right. But we do have a championship game, so there just might be some sore folks about who doesn't get in. So we'll see. But yeah, I know we talked about it. Chris, you were on the press conference, and thanks for everybody who's giving comments. I really appreciate you guys. You were on the press conference for Virginia Union. A question was asked about the strength of the league. Again, all the teams that are in North Carolina have at least 2 wins. That would be Johnson C. Smith, 4-0, Winston-Salem State, 3-1. You got a couple. You got Fayetteville State at 2-1. You've got both.
Shaw.
Shaw is at 3-1.
3-1.
Right. 3-1.
Yep.
And then you've got Livingstone and ECSU who are both at 2-2. So everybody's got at least 2 wins at this point. So they asked Coach Parker of Virginia Union, who's been a dominant team, about the league this year. So we'll let Coach Parker give his thoughts, and then we'll come back.
Is there a better level of competition maybe in the CIAA this year? Are you sensing that at all? Because I'm seeing, I'm seeing some really good stuff happening. Just wondering what your perspective is.
We got a bunch of good teams in the league, and everybody kind of raised their level with everything they were doing, and I think it just kind of came over time. We got a lot of stability with coaching staffs and things like that, where you're going to see a lot of the same coaching staffs, kind of within their teams, becoming better. And everybody's doing everything they have to do to be better. We kind of get together a couple times a year, and we kind of talk. And a lot of the things that the coaches, kind of wanted to create was to make sure that we were strong in conference. So everybody's done that. I think everybody's taking the time to make sure that they built up their roster the way they need to build it up and done the things they need to do to make sure that they're extremely competitive team. So you look around the CIAA as a whole, and we're playing a lot of good ball. And you can kind of tell that by, some of the out-of-conference wins and some of the tough games that you'll see between, CIAA teams kind of going on. So I'm excited about the brand of football that the CIAA brings, and, I'm excited about what we can do for our final 8 games of the regular season.
We'd like to let everybody know that this past weekend's game against Johnson C. Smith was a non-con.
Yeah, and that's where shout out to Jim Juneau, the SID over at Virginia Union, telling us, because nobody else did. I think we were all I think a lot of people were under the impression that those guys were in a 1-0 hole over in Virginia, but hey, not the case. So, and to that end, we talk about schools improving. And one of them is Winston-Salem State. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Kobe, let me know if you got that clip from Coach Massey. If you don't, I got it here, so I can play it just so we won't be. All right, I'll go ahead and hit that.
Yeah, well, what you're seeing is the parity of this conference. It's a long time ago, you talked about the South. The name that would come up would be just Winston-Salem State. Then it turned for a while, now it's Fayetteville State. Well, that's no longer the case. For one, we have the mega conference. But at the end of the day, you look, Johnson Smith, they're 4-0, 5-0, whatever the case may be, first time since 1982. Coach Fowles, great friend of mine, is doing extremely well. But the parallels are simple, man. Folk are improving the resources so we can go out and get the players we need to have the turnaround. There's some good coaching going on in the CIAA. There's some good recruiting going on in the CIAA. So you can't just say who's projected to win because, again, if we listen to the critics, for lack of a better word, V-State would have won it. But that's why you play this game. The beauty in this game is you can't talk it. You got to play it. And we're in a position now where, hey, we took our bumps, our bruises, and our lumps, and we're growing and we're developing, and we like our position. Hell, I wish it was better. Meaning we wish we could have got A&T Ed, but at the end of the day, we didn't. So we move on.